I'm not sure if it was Jack or Robert. Somebody asked him about Smoak over the weekend about UConn and the Big 12. From a very highly placed person that I can tell you right now would otherwise not mention this at all, I asked, no UConn, not now, and not anytime in the foreseeable future. So whatever you wanted to ask about UConn, that was from someone that I know would know who would know.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to kind of track where all the rumors and stuff like can come from with realignment because there's just so much craziness going on. I do think that like we'd all be better off if we kept scorecards though, and kind of kept track of like what is legitimate and what's just like being spewed to shake up the Twitter sphere or to create noise or to garner attention or whatever the deal may be. And that way if you see something you go, oh well, that person's been right more often than not, they've got a good track record. And so sometimes things just pop up and it's kind of hard to track down because you can't just throw whatever out there, right? And so I don't know what the deal is with the whole UConn story really. I know it was thrown out there and based on some tweets that I saw, made it sound like it was imminent. I don't believe that, and I have no problem, like I said earlier, being wrong. But I don't see the need for one. I don't see the urgency for another. It just doesn't make sense to me, and I feel like it's something that is either a really good scoop or it's total BS. And I don't know because it's not my story to tell. But I know things can just catch fire, and certainly there was all of a sudden like UConn, and I'm like you, I didn't spend very much time at all on Twitter, but I did see that the couple of times that I logged in, like Jim Williams retweeting people, or I don't know if Bob Thompson commented on anything, but they've been brought up before. Like there was an article like a month ago when Jim Mora and I think another coach may have been interviewed about the possibilities of them moving, and they just said like the company line, like they just said, yeah, well, they didn't indicate one way or the other really a preference, I don't think, nor did they really reveal any information, and that was like a month ago. So I'm not sure what changed or what's really heated up, or again, if it's all just BS. I don't believe it. I don't believe that UConn's going to be in the league, this week or whatever. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But I'm also not the one reporting it, so it's not my scoop, and I have no sources saying that, like, yeah, it's dead on. You just cited your own sources, and I tend to believe those folks. So, yeah, I'm not buying into that. I think it's a grab for attention or just a bad lead. But, there is a lot of that in this realignment game because it does get attention, and that's part of it that I think is fun, but I think it's also a part that can really drive you nuts when you're just trying to report the correct information. It can get lost in a lot of noise, and I feel like this is noise, and if it's not, then that'll be a hell of a thing to talk about here in a few days.
I think what happens also, you can throw something against the wall, hope it sticks like spaghetti means it's ready, or it could fall to the ground. No one really remembers all that. They remember if you get one of the 15 or 20 or 100 right.
That's why I feel we need like
to the top of your feed.
Yeah, that's why I feel like we need a checklist.
A scorecard. Yeah. I'll just let's look at this logically. If Brett Yormark has said that there's no rush to expansion, and if the Pac-12 doesn't have their media deal yet, and nobody would be in a position to leave that until they know, then why would the Big 12 rush to add UConn before adding bigger schools football-wise, especially historically, even if their recent success isn't that great, before the ones that could be available potentially in the Pac-10? Doesn't make sense to me, because everything that Brett Yormark has said about expansion tends to lead that he is watching out west first, and then when that situation settles, we'll investigate other things. And UConn doesn't do anything for them right now, especially when it comes to football. So I just wouldn't see them jumping the line just because the Big 12 wants to expand and Brett Yormark loves basketball. I think that you have to do things in the right order, and I don't think that that's how it's working in the Big 12 right now. And sometimes, and the people who say these things say them because, they get lots of, Twitter likes, and they're like, oh, great, I'm a real person now. I have validation in the world. Now I can look at myself in the mirror, and that's not really journalism.
No, and I think if that were to be the case, I sure as hell would hope that a Gonzaga announcement's following about 30 seconds later to make it make sense, because otherwise I don't think it makes sense to just singularly add UConn. I don't know what that does for you other than satisfy the itch that other than scratch the itch that Brett Yormark clearly has as a New York guy to be, sort of New York, right? But beyond that, I don't know how the AD sign off on that. I don't know how in the world they look at that and think that it's a good idea to just bring in UConn. So I call BS. Again, I'll eat crow if I need to at the end of the week, since it seems to be something that's imminent. But otherwise, yeah, let's think logically and let's see, I guess, how it plays out, and let's put a scorecard together to see what's what and what's just being floated out there for the sake of floating things out there. But I mean, there's clearly a lot of talk going on, and I'm just here today to say that I don't think a Pac-12 team's joining. I don't think Colorado's joining, and I don't think that the UConn thing happens, at least in the way like they're being portrayed right this moment. Could there be a 0.01% chance that something happens? Sure, but at least for me, I'll gladly be wrong. I don't believe that anything's imminent in regards to the Big 12. I think that they're hoping that something happens, but I'm more confident in the Pac sticking together after Friday, despite the blunders. And again, the UConn thing, I feel like that's a Brett Yormark dream and not so much the best idea for the conference, unless you've got some other package of teams that are coming with them to make it make a little bit more sense.
All right.